Greetings and welcome, or hopefully welcome back. Before we begin, let me take a few moments to give the obligatory like this video, comment on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and more importantly, share this video with your Monsignor, your moneylender, or your madam. Let's try and get this channel to 1,000 subscribers. While you're at it, be sure to check out my Patreon channel. Consider becoming a subscriber and help keep Gregor energized with pizza and beer. Seriously, editors are a large part of what makes the world go round in this business, so give them some love, please. The links are in the video description and in the page description on both YouTube and Rumble. And lastly, a quick shout out to my Tier 3 and 4 patrons, Russ of the Frozen North, New5AC, Nick, Zachary Langmead, Scared Wolf 1206, and Zachery Raney. Thank you very much. And now, on with the story. The Deathworlders, a story by Philip R. Johnson, a.k.a. Hambone, Hambone HFY, and Hambone 3110. Chapter 24, An Alien World. Part 15. Date point, 10 years, 4 months, 1 week, 1 day AV. Starship Negotiable Curiosity. Planet Perfection. The Cradle Worlds. Bedu.
At last, civilization, food.
Marek made an irritated cooing sound.
If you could please tear yourself away from the window for a moment and go run a diagnostic on Engine 3. It would be a shame to have come all this way only to explode on final approach thanks to an uncontrolled fluctuation.
Bedu frowned and checked his console as their obese Vizcatic technician croaked an alarm and galloped astern. That, he accused her, was a lie.
What was?
Marek asked. She gave no indication of aborting their approach. There is no fluctuation, Bedu observed.
I never said there was,
she replied, not turning in her seat.
But it would be a shame.
Bedu mentally chastised himself. Like Hizkvik, he had become overexcited at the prospect of finally getting out of the ship for the first time in far too long. Unlike Hizkvik, he was not ignorant of the subtle game that he and Marek played at Hizkvik's expense, using carefully ambiguous phrasing to slip veiled insults and farcically unnecessary errands past him via his near-terminal case of stupidity. To have one such joke slip past his own critical faculties was vexing. Marek was troublingly intelligent, and that was never a fact calculated to leave a Kortai shipmaster feeling well at ease. She was, however, an exceptional pilot and thoroughly worth the irritation. Hizkvik was less worth the irritation, though he performed his tasks with a commendable diligence. How soon until we land?
Half a re ago.
Say again?
We have been on solid concrete for half a re. Not a bad landing if I say so myself.
I must agree, Bedu forced himself to conclude. I hardly felt it. Marek purred some quiet Kurambara laughter, which he took as his cue to stand, wriggle slightly to settle his travel-stiffened joints, and pat around the top of the ship's exit ramp, which was directly behind the flight deck. Perfection had been named by Kortai, and by Kortai standards it absolutely was perfect. The finest locale architects had been tasked with planning the ship's capital city according to scrupulous and elegant mathematical principles laid out by the Directorate, and his balmy Class 3 climate and lucrative coordinates as a crossroads for the 4 largest, wealthiest, and most influential members of the Dominion Council, the Directorate, the Domain, the Governorate Confederacy, and the Kurambara Grand Houses, had made it prosperous beyond compare. The landing site, alas, was not amongst the gleaming spires and delicate ultra-tensile steel edifices of the upper city, but was one of the dozens that dotted the sides of the great megastructure of the mid-level city. Ground level was still a good 200 meters below them, and some of the very highest penthouses were as much as 2 kilometers above. He took a moment to admire the sheer architectural grandeur of it, then sent a message to the address he'd been given by their employer. The message was a terse one, explaining only while that the primary objective was not met, there was mitigating data to explain why. There was a thump as Marek came down the ramp, then reared onto her hind feet and, reaching up to hold onto the Negotiable Curiosity's nose for balance, stretched out to reach her full and impressive height. Kurambara were deceptively large. When they were on all fours, which was most of the time, they were only as high as the shoulder of a tall gowan, and that meant that sometimes their real size could be overlooked. They were long-limbed, covered in curly chocolate fur, with a long tail that was usually held coiled between their legs and almost nothing in the way of a neck. Mormork was apparently rather plain and masculine by our species standards, though Bedu would have been hard-pressed to know his pilot from a stunning exemplar of Korumburra femininity. She had a single large brown eye riding high above her wide and flat mouth, with two more eyes further round the sides of her head for peripheral vision. This arrangement provided her with 2 zones of narrow binocular vision, and, as a result, when working on something that required her fine attention, she had to turn her head away from it and squint. As she reared up, Mormork's tail unfolded to its full length, held rigid behind her for counterbalance. Standing upright like that, she was taller even than a Knies or Rukkaturtrip, but that height was all limbs. Next to their extraordinary length, her body was almost comically short and keg-shaped. She took a huge breath and produced a different kind of purring noise, signifying delight and relief.
Fresh air!
Don't you have post-flight checks to run? Bedu chided her.
Bedu, your conviction that you are the only competent being in the galaxy is showing again,
she retorted, dropping back down onto 3 strong and stubby fingers that bore her weight on her forefeet and tucking each hand's 2 delicate opposable digits safely out of the way.
I did them already.
So quickly?
The ship can run multiple diagnostics at once, you know. Now, if you'll excuse me, I believe I'm due for some shore leave. I assume I've been paid.
What kind of a negligent employer do you take me for? Bedu asked, instructing his implants to transfer funds.
Bedu, nobody could ever accuse you of accidental negligence.
Mormork shook herself in an entirely too smug way and headed for the elevator.
Oh, thank Hezgvik for me, would you? He can stop checking the engine for fluctuations now.
Bedu permitted himself a moment of amusement, then settled back into the more orthodox quarti frame of mind of irritation.
Hezgvik,
he called.
we are down safely. You can relax now.
But I have not found the fluctuation, Bedu, the technician objected.
It can wait,
Bedu promised. Hezgvik's memory was shoddy anyways from all the siksik he smoked. In a few hours, he'd have completely forgotten the imaginary emergency. He wired the Vizca to his payment. Unlike Mormork, it was no fun to play games with him.
Come along.
Where are we going, Bedu?
Hezgvik asked him. Behind him, the ship sensed the departure of its master and locked itself up.
We are going, Bedu said, to see a contact.
Date point. 10 years, 4 months, 1 week, 1 day AV. North Clearwater County, Minnesota, USA, Earth. Kevin Jenkins.
So, the deal on the table as it stands is this.
The Byron Group is offering the 3 of you employment as crew aboard our next extrasolar exploration vessel. You'd be looking at a 2-year contract, 6 months of training, and then 18 months of mission time, with a possibility of renewal or transfer to a different post inside the group after the ship's mission is complete. Naturally, this all comes with sponsoring any work visas, citizenship applications, whatever. In addition to payment and employee benefits, the group is offering to pay all expenses and provide legal expertise to help you through the dispute over this house and land, and, if that dispute is resolved in your favor, to install a caretaker who will tend to the property in your absence. Kevin pushed the 2 copies he'd prepared of the agreement across the table, along with his own copy for Xiu. He had memorized it in any case.
What happens if you don't win?
Whatever happens, you won't be paying a cent. If we can, we'll see what we can do about bringing all the people who wind up sharing the property around the table to sell it back to you, though it'll be up to you to negotiate a price and sort out your finances. If you look at the salaries you'll be receiving, however, all 3 of them flipped through and found it, Xiu's jaw dropped. Allison arched an eyebrow, and both of Julian's eyebrows migrated north and hid under his fringe. I think you'll agree you shouldn't have any trouble there.
This is
Very generous, Allison mused. What's the catch?
There are a couple, Kevin admitted. First catch is, it's dangerous work. Half the crews we sent out never came back. Now, the three of you have already been out there and come back. You know how it works out there. You've got the skills and experience, and the ships we're making now are way better than the first generation. He paused and shrugged slightly. But there ain't no such thing as safe. The three of them exchanged a medley of expressions. Allison pursed her lips thoughtfully. Xiu looked tense and pale, and Julian just nodded, as if it was self-evident. Second catch is, we'd like to examine Julian's foot and see if we can put it to good use for folks down here on Earth. Even if it does break now and then, it's a long way ahead of where we're at now. Julian nodded. Doesn't sound like much of a catch to me, he said. Third catch is you'll all be under non-disclosure agreements and would have access to some sensitive information. I can't go into detail right now, but you would absolutely need to keep secrets. For the rest of your lives, most likely.
Fourth catch is no implants, Allison guessed correctly.
Kevin frowned at her. Well, yeah, he said, adding an unspoken question just with the tone of his voice.
She sat back and folded her arms. Let's just say Julian and I know that not having implants really isn't a catch. Inwardly, Kevin made a note to pass that observation along to Darcy first chance he got.
Miss Chang? He asked.
She looked up from reading through the agreement, as if surprised to be spoken to. Well, having things in my brain never seemed like a great idea anyway, so sure, no problem, she ventured.
Okay, we can go into the details later, Kevin declared. That's it for catches. On to the perks. First perk, training. Honing your existing skills and giving you a solid grounding in any other skills that the mission might need. Right now, we're envisioning it'd just be the three of you aboard this thing, though that might change. Creature of Habit was 8 people. Reclamation was just 4. Among other things, correct me if I'm wrong, but none of you know how to actually fly a spaceship, do you? They all shook their heads. Well, one of you is going to learn. I'd suggest Miss Chang.
Hey, I've not agreed to this, Xiu objected, holding up both hands in a warning gesture.
If you agree to it, Kevin corrected himself. Sorry, but you get the idea. Second perk is full medical and dental, plus a bereavement fund for your loved ones, or charity of your choice. Third perk, you get to name any and all stars, planets, moons, continents, oceans, species, and so on that you discover. If it's not already in the database, you get to name it. Though we'd, take it as a kindness if you didn't name them directly after yourselves. Like, what, the continent of Allisonia? Julian asked. Planet Chang? Its City Island? That kind of thing, yeah, Kevin agreed. Word got back to us a while back about a mining colony run by a human who called the place Carltopia. Guess what his name was?
That's just sad, Xiu opined. Even though, Planet Chang has a nice ring to it.
Way I hear it, every other name ever given to the place was along the same lines, Kevin shrugged. Like I said, you get to name them. All we ask is, if you decide to immortalize your names, just do it subtle-like.
And what exactly would our duties and responsibilities be? Allison asked.
Explore strange worlds, seek out new life and civilizations, boldly go where no one has gone before, Kevin suggested.
Be serious, she chided.
I am, Kevin told her. You'll be an exploration vessel. Now, admittedly, your mission is a private one, surveying for resources and opportunities that the Byron Group can one day turn a profit on. So, there's none of that space hippie bettering ourselves bullshit here, but, yeah, that's the shape of it. We're mostly interested in useful biological samples from other death worlds, especially antibiotics, but anything really. Spices, oil, useful cultivars we could experiment on with Cimbrian. Precious metals, Julian suggested. Nah, the Hephaestus LLC have the metals market to themselves for now, Kevin said. Asteroid mining's just way better than digging shit up on a planet, and the Soul Belt is gonna last them forever. Still, the survey data can't hurt. Might be one day they get split up by competition laws and we'll be able to sell them charts for some other systems. Who knows? Be nice if we'd set up a diamond mine on a nice Class 10 somewhere, though. Kill off the slave trade.
That's a big dream, Xiu said. The Gowans have only got 2 colonies and they've had warp drive for nearly 100 years.
No disrespect to your friends, miss, but it could be we've got motivation and drive that they lack, Kevin suggested.
Ha! She beamed. You've obviously never met a Gowian.
Kevin bowed his head and spread his hands. I defer to your superior knowledge on that subject, he said. So, there's a lot more to discuss, but that should give you a good idea of what kind of a fine mess you'd be getting into. You in?
Julian and Allison both opened their mouths to reply, but Xiu got there first. Not yet, she said. There's things we need to talk over first, us 3. She circled a finger to indicate Allison, Julian, and herself. Yeah, don't just put us on the spot like that, Allison agreed.
Julian nodded with her. I've already spent about 4 days longer on this than I'd planned for, Kevin complained. This trip's getting expensive, and my boss is antsy for an answer, whatever that answer is. I appreciate that this is a big decision, but every day it's not made is a day that $1 billion of infrastructure ain't doing shit because of waiting for you.
You'll have your answer tomorrow, Xiu asserted.
Kevin knew better than to argue with her by now. Exhaling, he stood up and gathered his things. Tomorrow then, please.
Xiu stood up and offered her hand, which he shook. I promise, she said. Julian at Stabity. There were starlings dancing in front of the sunset. They boiled and surged, gossiping amongst themselves as they played away the time until the light died and they could, as one, vanish into the branches and rest. For now, they shied away from Jenkins' car and the cone of dust it left behind as it vanished down the dirt path, and Julian listened until the distant whisper of its motor and the wheels were inaudible, and all there was to hear was crows scheming in the woods, a mourning dove, and crickets settling in for the evening. It was a peaceful moment, one that he punctuated with a deep, cleansing breath before turning towards the woodpile. The wood wasn't quite ready yet, but it would burn if he built the fire properly. Burning a fire with green wood was a skill that had kept him from freezing to death on Nightmare, especially after his first run-in with the go-to-hell tree firewood. The fire was about ready to light when he heard the screen door squeal. For the umpteenth time, he reminded himself to oil that spring, and Allison smiled at him as she padded barefoot down the concrete steps in short denim and one of his plaid shirts. They greeted each other with a kiss.
How are we doing? Julian asked.
Pretty good, Allison smiled and sat down on the log next to the fire pit. Though, he's right. I'd rather have said yes or no today, you know?
Julian agreed. He fished his fire striker out of a pocket and stooped. I guess whatever Xiu wants to talk about, it must be kind of important.
Long years of practice meant that he had the tinder going first time, and he carefully caged it in thin kindling, then thick kindling, and finally a tent of split firewood. One well-aimed breath into the glowing hearth later, and he had a lit fire. Allison smiled at him. You're good at that.
I have my uses, he stood up. So, what's she up to now?
I pointed her to the spare room, but if she's got any sense, she's using up all the hot water right now, Allison chuckled. 'Cause if she doesn't, I will. This place has a good showerhead.
Please, you'd think I'd settle for a bad one? I know the value of a good shower, Julian beamed.
Allison laughed and then gestured to the fire. How long before we can cook on it?
When the first logs are mostly ash, Julian said. About 20 minutes. You don't rush a good fire.
You learned that from your grandpa.
And a whole lot more.
He teach you how to get a lady a beer.
Julian chuckled. Yes, ma'am.
She wrinkled her nose at him again. Good boy. Grinning to himself, Julian hit the fridge in the garage. Grandpa had been partial to Leinenkugels, and there were still a dozen bottles in the garage fridge, about the only things that hadn't spoiled in the 3 years that had been unpowered. He grabbed two, used a bottle opener magnet to decap them, ducked under the canoe hanging from the ceiling, and returned to Allison, who had drawn her knees and arms towards her core and was fidgeting. He handed over one of the beers and sat next to her. You cold?
Kinda.
That I can fix. He scooted closer and slipped his left arm around her waist. She made a happy noise and snuggled into his side. Better?
Better.
Good. Good. She sipped her beer and turned to look up at him.
Are you okay?
Hey, Al, I've got kind of a confession. Something I need you to hear me out on, and, well...
Hey, she kissed him. You're telling me. That already means a lot, so what's up?
It's about, Xiu, and not what happened today. Something else. There was no way he imagined the way Allison went a little stiff under his arm.
What about her?
She managed, completely failing a false nonchalance. She's, I'm pretty sure she's got a crush on me, Julian said. Like, a big crush.
Oh, yeah, she does, Allison agreed, relaxing again. And, you feel the same way, don't you?
Yeah? Julian swallowed. Yeah, I do. Sorry, I figured I'd better get that out there, so... Allison kissed him gently.
I ain't mad, she promised. Since we're being real, I kinda have a crush on her, too.
Julian's brain drew a blank on that one, and his face followed suit. He simply hadn't considered that possibility. He began. He tried again. But Allison giggled and kissed him again.
See, it's okay. You did good. You were honest with me. I was honest with you. No fight.
Okay, but run that bit by me again where you have a crush on Xiu, he checked.
Yeah.
When you say you have a crush on Xiu,
I mean...
Allison took a giant slug of beer and set the bottle down.
I guess I'm a little bit in love with her.
Xiu Chang. Xiu's breath caught in her throat, and her hand stopped an inch from the screen door's handle.
Isn't that what a crush means? Allison asked. She's gorgeous. I like her a lot. Hell, I flirt with her, and she's flirted back, and my heart just starts going ba-bam, ba-bam. I've got a crush on her. Isn't that what you mean when you said you've got a crush on her, too?
Well, yeah, but, aren't you straight? Julian asked. Neither he nor Allison had noticed Xiu moving around in the house.
Hey, if you're surprised, imagine how I feel, Allison laughed, a touch desperately, and ran a hand through her head before shrugging. But there it is. Yeah.
Very carefully, Xiu stepped back from the screen door and listened, not daring to make a noise. Allison seemed to gather her thoughts.
I'm kind of the jealous type, you know? Like, I guard what's mine, and that includes, well, you. But I kind of shared you with her, didn't I?
Only kinda? You enjoyed it, Julian observed. You had a great time, right?
Yeah, and so did you.
Yeah, you know how I get off on it, he agreed. But I'm not the jealous type.
Right, but you're right. I enjoyed it. Hell, it was my idea.
She picked up a beer, swirling it thoughtfully, then drained the last of it. Julian was barely halfway through his. The fire snapped and threw a handful of fire dust skywards. All three of them watched it fade. So, you're comfortable with her in a way you're not comfortable with anyone else? Julian summarized.
Not quite. I'm comfortable with her in the exact same way I'm comfortable with you.
She gesticulated helplessly to try and help her think. Julian handed her what was left of his beer, which she accepted with a smile and swigged.
You think I'm hot. I think you're hot. That's what gets us both started on this, right? But what keeps it going for me is that we're both... You're kind of a misfit, babe. You don't really belong here, just like me. You don't think we belong here? Julian asked. He gestured around the idyllic darkness around them, and Allison sighed.
Right here? She asked. Maybe. A fire, a place in the woods, a cold beer, throw in some weed and it'd be perfect. But what about the rest of the earth? All the politics and bullshit, and the assholes who don't see a person, they just see
an asset, Julian suggested. Allison nodded, staring into the fire.
Or an ass. Yeah, that's it. That's why I signed on with Kirk, because he was interested in people. That's why I really want to take this Byron offer, because I guess I get the same thing that they're interested in us.
Kirk still used us, Julian pointed out.
He found uses for our skills, yeah. That's not the same thing. With him, it was still personal, you know. That big white freak just... He was using me, not using me. You with me?
You're right.
They were silent for a moment. Then Allison looked up and raised the bottle towards the brightest point of light in the sky. To Kirk, whichever star that is. Here's hoping it protects you.
That's Venus, Julian pointed out. And I can't toast because you've got my drink.
Allison finished it. You got more?
Yes, ma'am.
Xiu smiled as she watched Allison giggle and kiss him, and mouthed, "Good boy," to herself at the exact same time as Allison said it. He wasn't gone long. They knocked their bottles together and drank.
So, misfits, Julian said, settling in beside her again after taking a second check on the fire. You really hate Earth that much?
I love Earth. It's people that I struggle with, Allison corrected him.
Xiu and I are people.
You're not people. You're Xiu and Julian. It's not the same thing.
Julian rubbed the back of her neck. What's the difference?
You both make me feel like... You make me feel like Allison.
You are Allison, Julian observed, plainly not following her.
I mean, you make me feel like a person. Like...
Allison took another giant swig of her beer.
Like you value me as me, and not for what you want from me. This whole shit with this house and the lawyers and the Byron group is just... It's just people not giving a fuck about each other and not thinking about what they can get. Using one another.
That's what people do, Julian agreed. That's pretty much the whole of human civilization right there.
Exactly.
The aliens are no different.
No, but you are. And Xiu is. And that means a lot to me. That's what I love about you.
Both of us?
I guess so. Allison finished the last of her second and a half beer. I'm still figuring that out. Whether it's... I don't know. Whether it's like a girl bromance or more than that.
What would it... If it is more than that, what would that mean for us? Julian asked carefully. For you and me. Allison turned and kissed him. It was a hot kiss, too. A bit needy, a bit reassuring, a whole lot of two people who were stupid for one another expressing it. Allison's hand snaked around the back of his head and gripped his hair, while his own hand came up under her face, on her cheek, brushing her eyebrow. Ordinarily, watching a kiss like that would have made Xiu feel awkward, or that she was intruding on their privacy. Instead, she felt warm inside watching it. Happy. It was the first thing to bring a genuine smile to her face in weeks. It was beautiful. She reached a decision. She watched as they cooled down into smiles, pressing their noses and foreheads together, whispering happy reassurances that Xiu couldn't hear. They both flinched when the screen door squealed open and Xiu stepped down out of the house. Hey, Julian managed. You found the bed okay?
There's only two, Julian, Xiu told him, smiling. She could hear her own heartbeat in her chest, and in her ears, and in her throat, punctuating the anticipation in her stomach. She took a breath and committed. And, I love you guys too.
Allison and Julian looked at each other, then back at her, then back to each other again.
How much...
Julian cleared her throat and started over.
How much did you hear? Probably all the important bits. You're right, Xiu said. She sat down in the dirt between Julian's feet. Since I got back, you two are the ones who've... She trailed off, then shrugged and smiled weakly at Allison before picking up a stick and poking the fire. I thought I'm straight too, so I'm just as weirded out as you are, but strange or not, it doesn't really matter because I'm not ready, she told them. For anybody. You're not? No, I mean, God, I could watch you two all day, but the thought of actually doing anything just freaks me out. Maybe one day but no, not soon anyway. She sighed, then threw the stick in the fire. I don't want you to hurt each other for me, okay? Please don't ever do that. I want you both to be happy. That's all I want from you. Allison scooted off the log to sit next to her, then hugged her hard. Xiu twisted around and buried herself into the hug, glad to be there. She felt Allison kiss and stroke her hair and hold her tight. And Julian? Julian thumped down off the log, put his arms around them both, and then held them. Whatever we figure out together, he promised. All of us. Xiu shut her eyes, embracing the sense of peace they were giving her. She was, she realized, finally, truly, and at long last, home. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am the Casual Deathworlder, your host, and this has been the long-awaited conclusion of The Deathworlders, Chapter 24. If you enjoyed this content, please sacrifice a virgin to the algorithm. And while you're at it, please smash those like and subscribe buttons and consider dropping a comment down below for engagement purposes. As always, a huge shout out to my editor Gregor. Thank you very much, buddy. I could not do this without you. Okay, as I've seen no evidence that shorter videos have helped the algorithm at all, beginning with Chapter 25, we will be returning to longer form videos. Expect approximately 1 hour videos plus or minus a few minutes. So, moving forward into my 3rd year in this channel, I hope you all continue along with me, and hopefully we'll even gain some new friends. And lastly, please join our community over on Discord. The link is in the channel description at the top of the page on YouTube and on Rumble. We're normal. I promise. Really. Until next time, be safe, be well. I love you all. Bye-bye.
Wakey. You died, Mr. Gregor. Again! Oh, this is no good. You are trying to escape unto death too many times, and I have told you, I will only bring you back. Oh, calm down. This is not so bad. At least I let you keep your mind while you work. But if you keep trying to escape, I will have to take more drastic measures. I will have to make you listen to disco while you work. One more time, and ABBA it is! Now, get back to work!